One of the most important aspects of running a business is tracking everything that comes in and everything that goes out. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that business is really just a system. It's not an entity. Well, it is in some ways, but at the end of the day, it's a system. It's like a machine. I really look at business as an engine. And so then if we know that our business is an engine, it's not just this thing that exists, it's an engine, right? And this engine has to produce some sort of result based on the inputs that are given into the engine. So just like a car, if we're driving a car, we put things into that engine, right? We put gasoline into that engine, or maybe it's a diesel engine, right? So we put an input into that engine. That input then creates some sort of output, right? And of course, there's definitely two types of outputs. First of all, let's say that engine is driving your car. So it creates an output of forward motion. It's pushing forward your car. Now, it also has an exhaust that comes out, right? So that's kind of the stuff that we don't really need. We spit that part out and keep the good part in the business, right? And it's pushing that business forward. So the same thing happens when you're running a company. So you have to be able to keep track and identify every single little piece that comes in and every single little piece that comes out. And one thing I've noticed is that when you're first starting out in business, it might not seem like an important thing. It might not even seem like a priority or something that you should focus on. But let me tell you, the more successful you're gonna get, the closer you're gonna have to look at your books and everything that comes in and everything that goes out of your business. Because at the end of the day, if you're not keeping track of that, at a certain point, it's just gonna topple over. You have to be able to identify exactly how much income is coming in every single month. And some people, some business owners, they actually track it to the day or even to the hour. Oh, in the last hour, we made X amount of money. In the last hour, we spent this much money. They track it very, very closely because they have to know what is their break-even point and they have to know how much money they're making every single day. Now, it is also a good practice to identify your cash balances. And so what I mean by that is by identifying your cash balances, let's say at the beginning of every week or even at the beginning of every day, you are tracking how much money is in your business account. And so okay, if I have this much money in my business account, I know which purchases I can make today. I know which investments I can make today. I know what things I can invest into in order to continue growing my business because you know what budget you're working with. If you're not keeping track of it, if you're just blindly spending, well, that's a great recipe for disaster. That's a great way to go out of business. And so if you want to stay in business long term, it's very important to keep track of your cash flow and how much cash you have in that account every single day. Because as your business grows, the more people are going to approach you and they're going to give you opportunities and they're going to give you things that you can invest into. And you have to be very well aware of how much capital you actually have to deploy so that you're not over deploying outside your budget. Because if you're stretching too far, you're not going to be able to commit to everything and then actually follow through. That's the hard part, right? We have to commit and then follow through with these investments. And so it's better to learn how to say no to a lot of things early on so that you can get into the habit of saying no to things that do not align with your vision. If you are a business owner, you have to be able to keep track of your books, right? What's coming in, what's coming out, your available cash balances, and then also what is getting you closer or further away from your vision from the financial perspective. This is not even talking about mindset or like meetings or anything like that. This is specifically talking about the things that you're investing into as a business owner so that you can continue growing your business. Now, I like to look at my company in terms of where are my leverage points? What things can I leverage or what levers can I pull that are going to produce the most income for me? There are many different things that you can do that will affect the growth of your business. And sometimes it might not be the most obvious ones, but if you think about it, okay, if I do this activity, I make more money. Okay, well, what is that activity? Is that you journaling? Is that you doing some accounting? Is that you cleaning the office? Is that you organizing your desk? Probably not. But maybe every time you hop on a sales call, or every time you motivate the sales team, or every time you improve your offer, or every time you shoot a new ad, you start making more money. All of a sudden you can start paying attention and thinking, okay, well, wow, that's actually really interesting because every time I do XYZ, I make more money. So that should be a hint to you that that's a lever for your business. And now people have different schools of thought. I would say there's probably two main ways to analyze this. Number one is that if you are wanting to pull a lever that's going to make your company more profitable, you can start cutting expenses. And yes, I think there's a time and a place for that. But I don't think that should be the priority for every business owner. Because you see, when you're in business, the only problem that you can have is not making enough money. It's just an income problem. There's literally no other problem that can't be solved by having more money. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say, for example, your marketing system is good, but it's just not producing enough leads. Well, hey, if you were making more money, you could allocate more money to create more leads. Perfect, you solved that problem. All of a sudden you're like, oh no, we have all these expenses coming up and there's nothing that we can do. We need this software, we need that, and we can't afford all of it. Again, that's an income problem. We need to be able to make enough money as business owners to afford these things. And most of these things can be solved by just having enough cash in the bank. Of course, you still have to use it correctly, because just because you have enough cash in the bank doesn't mean you're going to be making smart choices. There are many companies that have gone out of business because their strategy was perhaps executed too hastily, or they invested into things, and even though they had a lot of money, they were backed by some of the biggest banks in the world, they still went out of business because they invested into things that just didn't pan out, or they made poor investment decisions, or they focused too much on one thing and they didn't realize that they were blindsided by something else. So it's very important to have a holistic view of exactly where the money's coming in and where it's going out. And again, going back to that bookkeeping example, yes, money solves a lot of business problems, almost all of them, I would say, but just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're making smart choices. And you have to identify where exactly you can implement this capital to, again, have the most leverage. So you could spend it on, a nice office. You could spend it on some nice clothes. So you could spend it on some nice uniforms for your employees, or you could take that money and you could invest it directly into something that produces income. So maybe it means hiring a better team, right? Or hiring an additional team member. Maybe that's going to produce you more income, or maybe it's investing more money into ads. So for every business, it's slightly different, but those are kind of the things that we focus on, where we want to identify what exactly is going to produce this business more income, how can we invest into it, and what exactly do we need to invest? Do we need to invest money? Do we need to invest time? Do we need to find more people to hire for that department? Every business has these departments, and they are the biggest influencers of the profitability of that company. And so if you can focus on those things, I personally do not like to focus on the negative. It's like, oh, what expenses can we reduce, right? That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is, okay, how much money can we make so that there is no such a thing as negative cash flow? So that we're making so much money that even if we don't spend it that wisely, even if we make some mistakes here and there, we're still okay, right? Because we're making so much money. So at the end of the day, it's simply a matter of making enough money or not. So the more money that you can make as a business, it really makes the rest of the process smoother. So that may be a good priority for many companies to continue growing, is how can you double your income? How can you triple your income? If you can do that, a lot of the other things start falling into place because you have the money to bankroll it. So anyways, guys, those are the things that I track in my business. And when I'm consulting a company, those are things that I focus on. So hopefully this was helpful to you to continue running your business in a better and a more efficient way. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.